Hello and welcome to our NDTV on YouTube segment. This is the segment where we ask you, our viewers, what you think the most important story of the day should be, what you think we at NDTV should be investing our resources, our reporters, all our energies in covering what the story is of the day that matters to you the most, you the viewer. Well, these were the options of the big headlines of the morning. Let's take a look and see what you all have voted, you, our viewer, have voted as the big story of the day for today. Well, the options were one, of course, the 25 deaths. The death toll has now climbed to 25 in that China virus. China has sealed 5 cities. The WHO says it's still too early to call this an international emergency. They're monitoring the situation, but as of now, the death toll has risen to 25. But also in Jeddah, the Indian embassy has said that the Malayali nurse, the nurse from Kerala who was suspected of having this virus, is not infected with this virus, but with something else. The other option was the anti-CAA protests, and now in Kolkata it reached its 17th day or day 18th of the anti-CAA protests in Kolkata. Again, like I mentioned, the Kerala nurse doesn't have the coronavirus. The government has said that this morning. There's that big cricket match, India versus New Zealand, the T20 today, and there's the Greta Thunberg climate strike at Davos. So we asked you to pick the story you want to follow today on NDTV 24/7, and 7,000 of you have voted, and here's how you voted unanimously. 65% have said that you think the most important story are the anti-CAA protests taking place in Kolkata. Far behind is the story on the coronavirus. 21% have talked about how the death toll now rising to 25, how China has sealed 5 cities. That's an important story to you. 3% have said that the Kerala nurse not having the coronavirus is important. 6% have voted for the cricket game today, and 5% for the Greta Thunberg climate strike at Davos. But clearly the big winner today is the anti-CAA protests in Kolkata, where thousands of women have been sitting. They started off by sitting at Park Circus, at the Park Circus grounds in Kolkata. That was 17 days ago. Then it was called as the Shaheen Bagh of Kolkata. Now the Park Circus ground protests have sparked off numerous other protests in Kolkata, in West Bengal. These women have been sitting in the Park Circus ground since the 7th of January. And now, 17 days on, they say that this is the freedom struggle 2.0. Now, remember, these protests are coming in the backdrop of many other interesting developments. First and foremost, even as you hear the UP Chief Minister, for example, saying that these women protesters are a front, they've been put up by political parties, dismissing them, threatening them with sedition, threatening anyone who uses the chant Azadi with sedition, with the Home Minister Amit Shah saying that do what you want, protests may continue, but they're not going to repeal CAA. We now have the former president, Pranab Mukherjee. He has spoken up on authoritarianism, on dissent, and he has underscored the importance of dissent in a democracy. He says clearly that a democracy thrives on discussion, deliberation, arguments, and even dissenting. Now, the former president, he did not mention CAA per se, the contentious citizenship law, or the national citizens register of citizens, because of which or against which many citizens have been coming out on the streets to protest. But he has said that it was heartening to see, and I'm quoting here, the youth assert faith in the constitution. Let's listen in to the former president's words.
Indian democracy has been tested time and again. The last few months have witnessed people come out in the streets in large numbers, particularly the young, to voice out their views on issues which in their opinion are important. Their assertion and belief in the Constitution of India is particularly heartening to see. Consensus is the lifeblood of democracy. Democracy thrives on listening, deliberating, discussing, arguing. even dissent.
And that's not all. This is also coming even as there are developments taking place at Davos, where first and foremost, the billionaire philanthropist George Soros has spoken out against the growth of nationalism across the world. He's targeted many global leaders, world leaders, whether it's Vladimir Putin, whether it's Donald Trump, Xi Jinping, and our very own Prime Minister Narendra Modi. In fact, he has said in the fight against the growth of nationalism the world over, the biggest setback has been in India, where he has gone on to say in his speech that a democratically elected Narendra Modi is creating a Hindu nationalist state, imposing punitive measures on Kashmir, a semi-autonomous Muslim region, and threatening to deprive millions of Muslims of their citizenship. He was speaking in Davos. Davos, of course, is an annual event, and he's there every year. He's a billionaire philanthropist. He addresses an array of global political and technological issues. He has announced the launch of a university. He's pledged $1 billion to the launch of a university, which he says will work to fight the two biggest scourges that humankind faces today, that human civilization faces today. He says they are nationalism and climate change. And when it comes to nationalism, he says nationalism, far from being reversed, has made further headway. And the biggest and most frightening setback, he says, comes from India, where a democratically elected Narendra Modi is creating a Hindu nationalist state. So there's that statement coming in from Davos right now. And last night you had the prominent publication, The Economist, release its latest edition. It is a simple cover. Let me show you exactly what it says. The headline clearly, simply states, "Intolerant India, how Modi is endangering the world's biggest economy." That's our cover this week. They've even tweeted that out. Now, if you read the article, it goes on to say that Narendra Modi has stoked divisions in the world's biggest democracy. They're, of course, referring to the CAA. The article states that the passage of the CAA has sparked widespread and lasting protest. Students, secularists, even the largely fawning media have begun to speak out against Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister, for his apparent determination to transform India from a tolerant, multi-religious place into a chauvinist Hindu state. In another part of the article, it also says, and I'm quoting here, that Mr. Modi could have used his second term to pass badly needed reforms to make it easier to build homes, lay roads, or create jobs in India. But 6 years in power appear to have made him stubborn. This compare these statements in contrast to the statements coming out from the UP Chief Minister, for example, where he's absolutely dismissed these protests. There are many other leaders, government leaders, who have dismissed these protests, calling them, going as far as to call them anti-national, threatening them with threats of jail and sedition for even coming out, daring out to speak on an issue that they think is important to them. Remember, so far, UP police has filed 3 criminal cases against the women who are protesting in Lucknow, accusing them of rioting, accusing them of other serious charges. So far, none of these women have been arrested. But we heard the UP Chief Minister also making these gendered comments yesterday, claiming that these women have no agency of their own, the women really have no minds of their own, and they could be put up by somebody else, whether it's a political party or whether it's men, to actually come out and protest. So really an attempt by the Chief Minister there in UP to dismiss the views, to dismiss these women, really. And those are the voices we're hearing coming out of Kolkata, who are saying no matter what you do, they will continue to protest. They have now been protesting for 17 days. So that's the big story that matters to you. And if it matters to you, it matters to us. Thank you.